Hello, all my human design scholars out there. We've got a real special video for you today because this one's for everybody. It's not just projectors or manifesting generators or manifestors or reflectors for that little bit of percentage of you that's out there. This is profile lines. So everybody has a profile line, whether it be I'm a 6'2", you could be a 1'4", you could be a 2'4", you could be a 3'5". I'm basically going to explain to you today what those numbers mean. There's 1 through 6. So let's get into it. The 1 line is the investigator. So what does that exactly mean? Well, the one, he is, or she, or they, is the foundation. Number 1, bam. Basically, Ra explains 1 through 6 as a house. And with the 1, it's the foundation. This person, my dad was a 1'4", so that 1 was huge in his life. You could tell he was the foundation. So it's the investigator or foundation. He was an investigator. He ended up becoming like a deacon at the church. When he found his religion, he investigated deep into it, and he made all of us do it too. You know, the 1 line was very much, he studied the Bible, he read a lot of books. When he became an air conditioner technician, he was like the best guy. He knew more than everybody, you know. It was just one of those. He was constantly beating on his craft, constantly reading into everything. When 9/11 happened, he became an expert on Muslims. When he went to Mexico, he studied Spanish for months and months. Got pretty good. I mean, he was really good at Spanish before, but he was a 1 line, therefore an investigator. He investigated and studied. The best way I could explain it, a 1 line, is they got their nose in the books. And if you look at their life, everything has to have that foundation. That's where the foundation part comes in. With my father, the best way I can relate to the 1 line is my father, because that's the only 1 line that was real close to me in my life. And the funny part is, he was a foundation. He was a huge foundation in my life. He taught me the best. He taught me to investigate everything, even though I'm not a 1 line. I'm super investigative because of him, because that's how I was programmed. I was raised that way. He definitely always had some type of foundation underneath us. And I'll put it to you this way: if you were going to argue with him, you better have a good foundation yourself. Not to say that it wasn't, wasn't that he was never wrong or anything like that. It was just, he always had the best foundation for his argument of why he believed what it was he believed. Whether it was his Jesus faith or his trade or what he did, why he did things the way he did them. He would wire a house as an electrician different than everyone else, and he want you to do it that way, and he would explain why things went that way and why it was more efficient. Of course, sometimes he got stuck in his ways too. I think that's that foundation part. Once the foundation's built, it's there. That house is built upon that rock. So that's the 1 line. 1 line is the rock at the bottom, the foundation, the investigator. The actual word is investigator, but that's pretty much what it is. It's that foundation. They are rock solid people generally. Okay, the 2 line. So I can relate with this one because I'm a 2 line. I'm a 6'2", so it's actually part of my subconscious, but through studying human design, it's all about knowing yourself, right? So once I understood that 2 part of me, I understood a lot about myself and why I like to be alone. It's known as the hermit or the perfectionist. So most 2 lines I've ever met are really good at stuff. And I don't mean like math. I mean, they're just, they have some type of craft that they beat on. For me, I think it was surfing. It was just something I could do alone. There was no scoreboard. There was no audience. It was perfect. I didn't need anybody watching me, of course, until it came time to do contests and stuff like that where people were watching me. I think I just caught that. But the 2 line is all about kind of being alone in their craft. You'll usually find a 2 line You know, they're like a silversmith, or they're like a really good sports guy. Like people you see and they make like killer jewelry, or they're really good at some type of sport, they're top of their game. When you look at their profile lines, generally they have a 2. Generally, I'm not saying everybody, but usually, I mean, I knew somebody that was really, really good, got to the top of the world at like BMX racing and stuff like that. They had a 2 line in their profile. I know people that are really good at like wire wrapping, stuff like that. They're just by themselves. They can sit and do that. They're 2 line. It's that hermit that's described in the house. 1's the foundation. 2 is in the living room, facing the wall, perfecting some type of musical instrument, while the window is open for everybody else to see. So that's the other half of the 2, is that they're always watched. There's something about the 2 line that is got like a gravitational force for everybody's eyes. It's that Tupac, all eyes on me. And you know, every 2 line I've ever met, I was watching. And I do feel, not in a paranoid FBI way, but I do feel watched with everything that I do. I do feel like I'm perfecting something with the window wide open and everybody's just gazing in to see what's going on. Which isn't easy on the 6 part either, which we'll get to that, because they're watched very much too, especially when they're on the roof, but we'll get to that. We're at 2. 3 line. I love my 3 lines. I was a 3 line because I was a 6. The 6 has the trifecta, and in the first 30 years of my life, I was a 3 line. Now, it's known as the martyr. Sounds tough, doesn't it? It is. But I call it the martyr machine. Okay? The 3 line has a song. They're one of the only ones that I know that has a theme song, and it's that old song, I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. So when I see somebody has a 3 line, it's like, get a helmet, dude. You're gonna constantly run into what Ra Uru Hu called resistance. It is just, these people are like the goats of this system. They're just gonna plow through everything, but they're gonna get hit in the head a couple times too. That's why I say wear a helmet, theoretically, like a spiritual helmet, because they run into resistance, as Ra Uru Hu said. They're just gonna constantly run into resistance. They're here to find out what does not work. Now, I know what it's like to be a 3 line because I was one for the first 30 years, so I could speak on their behalf. As much as I had failed relationships, failed businesses, failed ideas, failed inventions, failed paths of life, you could not stop me. It was like done, on to the next one. I guess they got all kinds of songs, you know. That's that Foo Fighter, done, on to the next one, done, I'm done, and I'm on to the next. It's not just about relationships and stuff like that. It was about jobs too. When I was a 3 line, I dropped the mic when I walked out of jobs, and I didn't care. I was walking on sunshine. I'd light the match on that bridge and watch it burn. It would light my way. 3 lines, whoo! And the ones that I know, fierce, all of them. I had a pep in my step when I was a 3 line. Yeah, that I could just describe them as mountain goats, just fearless. I had no fear. When I became on the roof and I became a 6 line, the coin flipped on me. I became a completely different person. That 3 line that I had for those years until I turned about 28, 29, nothing could stop me. I mean, everything stopped me. That was actually the problem. Everything stopped me. But I didn't care. I got knocked down and I got up again. I was done, on to the next one. So 3 lines, if you're watching this, it's not that you're here to just find out what doesn't work. That's just part of what your process is. And it is better to know that at a young age. Because then you can just like get off your leash and just know that it's not going to work, but know that you're going to be fine. As long as you're living that process, you're going to be fine. That's part of living your design. And I mean, I will say as a 3-line, I had a lot more luck. It was like as long as I just kept running through walls like the Kool-Aid guy, I had luck. So keep it up, guys. 3 lines, you guys get it. The 4 lines. Now I got a lot of 4 lines in my family. My dad was a 2-4. My mom's a 4-6. My brother's a 2-4. They are a networking bunch of fools. That 4 line, those 4 lines have the best people at their parties. They have the best people in their phone. I used to describe in the Zodiac Tauruses as people who had a guy for everything. You know, like, hey man, I got a guy for that. Hey man, I need a travel agent. I got a guy for that. That's how Tauruses are. But as I started to study human design, I would look at Zodiac and human design, and a lot of 4 lines have a lot of Taurus in their charts, their planetary alignments and stuff like that. So there is something there that I caught as a projector, Mr. Mastering Systems. I did catch that, just a personal observation. That's kind of off the record, but a 4 line has a guy for everything. A 4 line is a networker. The best way I could describe it is their black book is full. If you need something, my brother's a 4 line. If I need something, like a guy for something, or you know, some type of contractor or some type of guy, he's got a guy on lock. I got a guy for that right now. He'd call it up in 2 seconds and he's got that guy. And I noticed that whenever I get calls for stuff that I do, and they're like, hey, I got a friend for this, that's a 4 line calling me to hook up. They're networkers. They make connections. So that 4 line's awesome. I don't have it. I'm an okay networker, but nothing like my brother who actually has that 4 lines. Or my mom. My mom, everybody calls her Miss Resourceful. She's got that 4 behind that 6, or in front of that 6 rather. So 5 lines. 5 lines. The teacher or the heretic. Real interesting mix there. It's known as just the heretic. I've seen Ra Uru Hu call it the teacher. And then the more I studied the 5, because the 5 was like one that eluded me, just when it came to the knowledge of grasping what a 5 line actually is. 5 line is a teacher. Every 5 line I've ever met, I could see why they call him the heretic. Like the guy, the best way I could describe him is extra, read all about it. That little guy on the corner with the newspaper, he's that dude. The news anchor today in this guy's life. Not that they're gossipers. That's actually not the thing. That's just a human kind of nature, really, is everybody kind of gossips, honestly. But it's not that they're gossiping. They got what's going on. They know what's going on. What's over here, what's over there. We need these people. The heretic, the teacher. They'll teach you everything. Now, there's a problem with the 5 that Ra Uru Hu talked about, was that they will give you the information sometimes in their own opinion. And it could destroy, watch out for this 5 lines, it could destroy your reputation because you're not being subjective. Or you can be accused of everyone for not being subjective, for kind of going with what you think instead of what's true. So you got to be careful with that. That's actually a balance. It's one of the challenges of being a 5 is you have to remember to stay on the line of truth instead of kind of Fox News and CNNing it. You know, there's what these guys say and what this guy says, and then what actually really happened. And what the 5 lines' job is to really stay on that path of truth and try not to veer off, because once that reputation is tainted, then you're done. If everybody, the 1 through 4s, sees this section of your information off, you're pushed aside. Now, that brings us to the fact that they are teachers. Every 5 line I've ever came across was very much a teacher in my life. They were full of information, And I always wondered, because it was very sensei, student became the teacher relationships with every 5 line. Once I started studying human design, I realized it was like somebody that I started learning from, and then all of a sudden they were asking me questions, which gets me to the 6th line. The 6th line is so complicated, but I'm going to break it down in the simplest forms. I have lots of videos on the 6th line because I'm a 6th line, and I think it requires lots of videos because there's a trifecta. The first 30 years, you're a 3 line. I explained the 3 line. So the first 30 years, you're that. If you have a 6th line in your chart, 28 point something years of your life, I think it's 28.6, don't quote me on that, but somewhere along the lines of that. So you're in that resistance. You find out what doesn't work. When it comes to that house chart, you're starting to climb. Like you're kind of like climbing up the house. The 3 line is that martyr. You know, you're running into resistance, that stairmaster getting up to the top of the house. Well, once you become 28, 29, you go on the roof. You go aloof. Now you become the meditating man on the hill. The man in the loincloth sitting there waiting for the people who will come to you as a 6th line, and they will ask you questions. They will ask you questions. Hey, what do you see up there on top of the roof? What's going on up there? Hey, come down here so I can ask you a question, as Ra Uru Hu said. And he also had this real interesting thing that sticks with me with one of his lectures. He said that people have to go to that 6th line meditating man on the hill because they need the damn blessing. You know, I've never had to get the blessing for my life, but it seems like, and I'm not being conceited, it just seems like people kind of come to me for the blessing. I do notice it as a 6th line. I'm a 6-2. So I'm conscious of my 6th line. And it does very much seem like, and this is where I was saying the 5s and the 6s tie together, it seems like the 5s come to me with their information to bless it before they go and heretic it out or teach it. I mean, put some comments and underneath if that is contrary to what you guys are experiencing, but I have experienced that. I have bought all the lectures on 6 lines from Ra Uru Hu and from the Jovial site. I've listened to other testimonies. I've talked to other 6 lines. It seems like they have noticed that too. Could be a conceited talking monkey human thing. I'm not sure. But that's what it says, and I really feel that, and it's really hard to say something like that without sounding conceited. But that's what it is. That's my whole walk around that whole conceited feeling. But 6 lines, the aloofness. I have whole videos. You can go through my stuff and look for the 6-2. I have whole videos on the 6 line. I'm going to go into a generalization. If there's other 6 lines out there, check out the other videos. I go into major depth about that 6 line because it's such an interesting thing, and I live it. So anywho, yeah, you go up on the roof for 20 years. You go 30 years as a 3 line, 20 years aloof. And in that 20 years, it's so interesting. You feel it the day it happens as a 6 line. You feel the day you go from a 3 to a 6, everything clicks, and you just become aloof. Things don't interest you as much. You don't have that energy anymore. It's like you took that helmet off and you got a tender head. You're not running into that resistance anymore. Now, you're just kind of kicking it on the roof, just staring at the sunset, staring into the horizon to see what's next. And people do come to you. Hey, what's up there? Hey, what do you see? Get down there. I got to ask you a question. And you're just kind of going, meh. In a weird way, I have seen that it's kind of talk. You get into like a glory day talk. Well, like, oh, back when I was doing things, back when I had the energy, back when I had that helmet and that get knocked down and get back up again attitude. But they say that second 20 years is to lick your wounds and become less pessimistic about life, because you spend that first 30 years of your life running into resistance, and then all of a sudden you lose that energy, you lose that drive, you lose that spark per se, and now you're just kicking it on the roof. You had all that energy to climb up on top of the house, but now you're like out of energy and you're just kicking it. And yeah, that aloofness is very confusing, but you really are just kind of licking your wounds. You know, all that. It's like you just got out of a football game and you're all cut up and you're just up there kind of taping your wounds and putting the Neosporin on all the cuts, and you're waiting for it to heal. And apparently around your late 30s, early 40s, you really heal up and become, if you do your process correctly, which is why I'm doing these videos and why the information's here for us all. If you start living your design during that aloofness, you will become an optimistic person until you turn 50. Now, that 28 year was the Saturn return. The 50 year is your Chiron return. My mom's a 6th line. She's the 4-6. And, I mean, it was almost like the day she turned 28 is around the time she got divorced with my dad. And then it was around 50 that she gave up her aloof life as kind of a drug user and stuff like that. And then she went to become the role model citizen, which is what you become at 50. It was almost around the time she turned 50. She moved in. Now she goes to work every day. She has her own little rituals that she does, and she just lives that whole learning what doesn't work, licking your wounds and becoming optimistic, and now she's just coasting, not like a free ride. She's coasting as a role model citizen. She has her job. She goes to work every day. She has her own little rituals, and she has a simple little life. And you can still go to her for advice because she has had all that experience of switching through life and becoming aloof and finding out what doesn't work. But now, when you turn 50, and it seems like when I read through the forums and stuff like that, of the 6th line that turns 50, you become less apt to be the person that jumps out just for the advice. You become more of just like, now this is what I do. You were the role model citizen, look at me go. Now I'm a living example. So there you have it. That is the 1 through 6 profiles. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions, if you guys want me to do different videos, go ahead and put it in the comments, and I'll do videos like that. I also do personal readings, so I can actually help you identify with yourself, because that's what we're supposed to do with this system. With Living Human Design, you're supposed to know thyself. So there it is, my take on 1 through 6 profile lines. If you guys have any questions, let me know.